first guest is the curator and archivist for the St. Mary's Museum. Here's Amy Cubberley. Welcome, Amy. First, what exactly is a curator and archivist?
Well, it's technically two jobs,
Yeah.
A curator and an archivist. So a curator typically looks over the museum side of things, and an archivist looks over after the archive side of things.
Right.
But in St. Mary's, since we're small, they're combined, and I get to do both jobs.
Multitasking at its best. How long has the St. Mary's Museum been in existence?
It's been in existence since the 1950s, and it's been in its current home since 1959.
And what was the motivation to start it?
It was the local Women's Institute. So we've had a Women's Institute for over 100 years at that point, and they were looking to start a museum. So they actually had artifacts in their collection and had a subcommittee, and then eventually the museum grew out of that collection of artifacts.
It's quite impressive for a town this size to have a museum. I've lived a few places and I've never seen a town this size really to have such a museum. What can people see inside?
So we're a local history museum, so our mandate is to collect and share the local history, but that is pretty wide open. So we have anything from farm machinery, cars, a motorbike, to small sewing needles, things like that were made into longs. A lot of locally manufactured artifacts as well.
But there's a lot of services that people can access at the museum as well.
Yes, so we do some curatorial services as well as archival services. So primarily in the archives, it's research. So a lot of people looking for their ancestors or properties. We do full property reports, and St. Mary's is filled with old houses. So we have Ken Telfer that helps with our property research. We also do a bit of consulting. So if somebody has something like a quilt or some family photos and they want to keep them in their possession but aren't quite sure how to preserve those, then they can set up a meeting with me and I can make recommendations.
Now this museum is quite unique too, because you don't just house things and that, you actually do some outreach to the community. For example, we have your music in the summer.
Right.
Tell us about some of the other things you do.
So Canada Day has traditionally been planned by the museum, as is Doors Open, along with the Heritage Committee. We also do a lot of outreach programming to local retirement homes and VON programs. So I'm a big proponent of getting the museum out to people who cannot get to us. I know our concert series and stuff like that are held on site, but I like bringing the museum out to the community as well.
And you have seminars in the winter as well, right?
Right, we have monthly seminars, September, October, November, and then February, March, April.
And there was really one popular one last year about pubs, am I correct?
That was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So pubs and taverns. The year before was murder and mayhem. So this town seems to like the more scandalous side of our history.
And what do you have planned for this winter then?
This winter, in September, we have the history of timekeeping with reed needles. In October, we have early agriculture, looking at barns. November is looking at 1917 and how that kind of formed Canada as a nation. And looking into this spring, we're going to do one on outdoor photography, one on the churches in St. Mary's and their architecture, and that will include a walking tour with Larry Paff. And I am totally blanking on the sixth one right now.
Okay, that's okay. You're really busy, that's the main thing. In the age of technology, it's tough keeping up with technology. What are some of the things the museum's doing on the internet and social media?
So we are active on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a website called Picture St. Mary's, and we're actively scanning and digitizing photos and uploading them to the website. So this summer we've had a summer student working on Reg Near's postcard collection, which I think some people in the audience will be familiar with. And so we've digitized and uploaded several hundred of his postcards this summer.
Oh, wonderful. I have an artifact at home.
Yes.
I want to donate it to the museum. How do I do something like that?
Typically set up a meeting with me. So we do have a collections policy that kind of outlines what we can and cannot collect. We look for duplication, so if it's something we already have in our collection, then we probably don't want a second. Whether it's made in St. Mary's, what the local connection is, the condition it's in, whether we have storage space for it. So there's a number of factors, but I typically encourage people to set up a meeting.
Okay, so you encourage people to get involved with the museum. How can they do that?
So there's lots of volunteer opportunities. Some volunteers prefer to work behind the scenes, so helping with things like digitization and organizing artifacts. And then we have frontline volunteers that prefer to help at special events. We have a seminar planning committee that's kind of that in between. They're helping plan, but they also are the face of the museum. So there's lots of opportunity to get involved.
Okay, so to end up, how do they get in touch with you?
Just contact me through my work contact. So do you want my email address or just find me on the Town of St. Mary's website?
The website probably the easiest thing because I don't think people are sitting down with
I have a long last name. So.
Very good. Well, Amy Cubberley, thank you very much for being here.